Our next game is Desert Strike: Return to the Gulf, which was nominated by @SB057 on Twitter. And he nominated the Game Gear game in particular. And we're going to have to deal with this because it's a little bit, it's not that different, but it is kind of worse than the other versions of the game. This version was developed by Tiertex. It was published by No, it wasn't. It was published by Domark for the Game Gear. It's right on the box. Domark.
And we should talk about Tiertex real quick. They should basically be treated like an hourglass symbol or red and black. It's basically a danger sign. Don't mess with them.
Yeah, they're kind of like the Micronics of Game Gear, maybe.
Yeah, the Micronics of the UK, I think you could say. I'm pretty sure
that could be so many different companies.
True, but yeah, they're
not to diss the UK game development because they had like an incredible bedroom coding scene for their microcomputers, but Tiertex is not. I don't think they qualify.
Desert Strike's a helicopter game.
So I don't remember which episode of GCI Next
45.
it was. Our 45. So it was a very recent, within a year.
Yeah, one of our last ones before we switched to the current format we're doing.
One of our last. It was our fifth to last. And so check that one out if you really want to hear us talk about Desert Strike, because we do talk about it for like 2.5 hours.
I think I won in that one, but you guys agree it's a pretty good game, right?
Yeah, everybody likes this game.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really hard. The controls are difficult to master, but it is good.
We can't say the same for this port. It's
version
just straight up awful.
Right. It was first released in 1994 in the US and or UK. Doesn't really matter because it's bad. The port is So if you really want to hear us talk about Desert Strike, go listen to GC9X 45. We talk about it more than any human being ever should. Not because it's a bad game, but just because there's not really, we probably say more than enough about it. But we give it its due. What is the issue with this version of the game, and why is it not?
Well, the first and biggest elephant, I think, is the fact that the Game Gear has 2 buttons, literally 2 buttons. And you were already pushing the button count on 3 buttons with the Genesis and Mega Drive. Or
buttons are up and select. Is that correct?
But basically, your whole game experience is condensed down to 2 buttons from the minimum of kind of previously 3, and it really makes it hard to kind of fiddle with what you have to do.
You have to tap or hold to do everything.
Yep.
One's guns and missiles, and one's strafe and hydras, and you don't want to waste your hydras.
The main problem I had with it is the field of view on the Game Gear is about as wide as your helicopter.
Yeah,
it's not quite that. It's insane. You can see maybe about 10 foot in front of you.
Yeah. In some ways, it feels like they took the graphics kind of from the other versions and we're just all right.
Yeah, they should have downscaled the sprites. The helicopter should be smaller.
Yeah.
The enemy should be
what they really wanted to do is clearly, and you can see it all over this game, they wanted to look really nice in the box art. Is the they wanted you wanted to look at the back and go, wow, this looks just like the Mega Drive or SNES or whatever game. But yeah, it does look very, very close to it. And so you realize that, you can't see anything.
And that's the sad thing is that's really, granted they have fewer buttons to work with, but still, if you downscale the sprites and just made it, fit on the screen properly, it would be about the same. It wouldn't be that much worse. It wouldn't be that big of a downgrade.
Well, what's happened with this one is basically it is controls are junkier, vision's junkier. Everything is, it's everything's let's make it a little worse in lots of key areas, and that doesn't usually bode well for a game.
This is a Game Gear port that's in a lot of ways is the old the way they used to port Nintendo games, NES games to DOS, where they wouldn't even try to make sure that they worked properly. They were just kind of oh, this is how it works over there. It's maybe it's not exactly the same. Maybe you should test it out and see whether it works.
I actually wanted to bring up one more problem offhand, looking at them side by side, but the Game Boy Desert Strike scrolls much smoother than the Game Gear one. The Game Gear one is really choppy in comparison. When Nintendo's ported version really runs a lot smoother, like more or less twice the speed, and the scrolling's a lot better. And even the field of view's a little improved, but no, the Game Gear one is just really choppy and sluggish in comparison.
Do you know what else really bugs me? Your map and your statistics are on different screens, unlike the other versions, or at least the console versions. So you constantly have to keep hitting start to scroll through everything.
Oh, Lord.
And you have to do that because you can't see the important stuff otherwise.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, since the vision is reduced, you have to use the map even more to kind of locate where the hell you're supposed to be, which constantly means you're in the map screen, you have to constantly cycle the map screen, and every little thing is a bother.
Also, there is no sound effect for when you get hit, so you have to check your armor constantly.
Wow.
Can you actually recover your armor properly as well?
That's right.
I tried to check my arm, recover my armor, and I couldn't even, I picked up some people, and it doesn't seem to help very much.
I think it does give you armor. It should give you 100 points each.
Just not very much. I mean, the game does warn you.
Me. I got you some heavy helicopter armor.
I think that the game does, to its credit, when you get low on armor, it starts wailing at you like blap 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 blap,
But
every
then,
second.
It might be too late.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just say this for reference.
You can't even dodge bullets.
Yeah, not really well. The strafing, the controls a mess.
I mean,
the graphics are a real downgrade, of course.
The original game is hard enough. It is not an easy game.
Yeah, let me just say this for reference. There are, I'm counting Wikipedia, 11 different versions of Desert Strike. Why would you go with this one? Why eat hamburger when you can have steak?
Might be the worst. And it's not even like a steak. It's not filet mignon. This is a Salisbury steak here. I like this game, but it's not.
The only thing maybe making this one better, I think maybe the Amiga one only has one button. That might be a really big pain in the ass, but I don't know if that would ultimately, completely ruin the experience or not.
It's really sad because an Amiga would have a whole keyboard to work with, right?
Yeah, and they often don't use it. It's this whole thing. Don't
it's
even
really frustrating. Yeah, I
don't question Europeans in the early '90s on the computers.
That's
just don't.
This was nominated for probably one of two reasons, and I wonder which, but it was either person wanted to inflict some sort of psychological harm on us,
yes.
In which case, congrats, or this is what they had when they were growing up. This is Desert Strike to the nice friend of ours, SB057, who nominated this. And if this is a version that you had growing up, that's you ought to consider firing your parents.
It's not too late. Yeah. Although, because you're probably in your mid-20s, maybe don't, because you will need their couch.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah, it's bleak. It happens.
But
I'm not joking. That's not. I'm speaking from experience.
You're not wrong.
Experience.
No,
if we're looking at just even if it is the worst one, arguably, it's still you can still get some fun out of it. You can get used to most of the things that it presents as issues. It's just it's going to be the worst Desert Strike experience. It's still not it's not the worst Game Gear game. Not even close to the worst Game Gear game. It's still I can see where you're going with Desert Strike, and it's kind of fun because it's still Desert Strike, but it's still.
It's the opposite of Quirk. It's a game that's not suited to its platform at all.
Which is interesting because I will mention this because obviously I'm a huge fan of the Lynx, and Desert Strike got a Lynx port, which turns out to alleviate most of the problems we've had because they didn't try and make it look nice. They pulled the vision out a little bit. It kind of looks, all the dirt is just dirt colored. It looks kind of crappy, but it's smooth and you got more buttons. So it kind of it's really awkward with this version.
It's also ambidextrous.
I wouldn't have chosen to play this version of Desert Strike, but I guess if you had a Game Gear and you had a exactly 5-hour car ride and enough batteries to last you, it wouldn't be the worst game to have on the Game Gear. So,
relatedly, I don't know if any of us would have ever touched this version had it not been nominated. There's no reason to go back to it. So, for that alone, it's kind of cool. So, genuine thanks for nominating it, I guess.
Well, better things than Super Monkey Daiboken, which we covered the last episode. Well, that was a real humdinger.
Thanks, guys.
You sons of-
Hey, I have an idea. What if we ranked it?
Are we putting it below?
Maybe
Super
we
Monkey
shouldn't.
Daiboken?
Maybe
'Cause that
we're
would be
going
exciting.
in the wrong direction with this podcast. Maybe we should stop ranking games.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys later then.
All right, night.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, so I'm thinking that we could put it below. I don't know. I'd put it pretty low. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a
I'm looking
game
at
that's
like-
already way too hard and makes it arbitrarily harder for no reason other than that they didn't
Oh,
think
we can-
about what they were doing.
We can all agree that if you're in the Genesis version, it would do okay in the ranking, right?
It would.
The Genesis version would do fine. I want to say this again because I just said this just before, but it's not as good as Firehawk.
No, it's
No,
not
yeah,
actually.
it's
No,
true.
Firehawk does do better what this bad port does, but
I'm putting it below Jones in the Fast Lane.
I was eyeing that exact spot
Wow.
between Jones in the Fast Lane and Amagon.
Because Jones in the Fast Lane it's not bad because of its format. It's bad because it makes you hate life and yourself. Like
Jones is too
That-
real. That's
Yeah.
always been its fault.
it's not like if you shrunk Jones down to the size of like 2 postage stamps, it would be just as bad or good or whatever. And it'd be the same game. Whereas I would say like below Jones in the Fast Lane, like Amagon just sucks no matter what. Like you can't, there's no saving Amagon.
Yeah, like this is still you could still eke out more fun of Desert Strike Game Gear, especially if you have a battery charger or something.
Wait, Cal, would you say
Bobbinator,
you can eke out more fun than eke the cat?
I wouldn't say
Come
that,
on,
but
you don't
yes.
have to get catty about this.
Wah, wah, wah.
Just
Too late to
Were you saying
hang
something,
myself?
Xerxes?
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot.
I think he was going to
just-
get your opinion because you haven't gotten to say your final piece of Desert
I
Strike.
was gonna say like below 8 eyes, but I can bring it down lower. I certainly don't mind.
Well,
Too
screw
nice,
this game
man,
then,
too
you know.
nice. Look, just because Desert Strike's Game Gear port is based on a very good game doesn't mean you have to be nice to this specific version. So
That's true. In fact, if anything, you should be meaner to it because
yeah, I
you
mean,
could
The
always
thing is,
play
I'm
the original
sure
game
the
and
Game
think,
Gear
oh,
could have
this
done
is-
a lot
Yeah,
better, you
this-
know,
this
like,
isn't- this-
in the grand scheme of things.
Just make the sprites smaller.
Yeah,
It's not hard.
This isn't like Final Fight where, we just went with the SNES version because that was really the only one we thought was available, barring the Sega CD one. I mean, that's not a great port, but there's...
Well,
at
we
least
didn't
more
go with the
reason for
SNES
it.
version on Final Fight. We went with the arcade version.
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct.
And here we're going with a version that was not the original, which I'm pretty sure is the Genesis version, so...
But it's so much worse than the original
It
and
has
so
been asked
different
to do
that
the
we
Game
have to
Gear,
rank it
and the
separately.
Game Gear version is below Jones in the Fast Lane.